You open your eyes, but the ceiling is completely wrong. It is curved, metal, painted a dull, institutional yellow that seems to sweat with condensation. You blink, once, twice. The hum around you is not the hum of a neighborhood or a city. It is the hum of pressurized machinery, keeping you alive. And somewhere deep in your chest, even before your mind is fully woken, your body already knows something is profoundly different. You try to sit up. Your limbs feel heavy. Not painful, just dense, like your entire body has been wrapped in wet concrete overnight. You swing your legs off the narrow bunk, and your bare feet touch a cold steel floor. You are in a tube, a living tube, roughly the size of a large camper van, shared with two other people you somehow recognize but cannot fully name yet. You are not on land. You are not even near the surface. You are sealed inside a saturation diving bell support vessel, hovering at a depth of 300 meters below the North Sea. And you have been living here, breathing here, sleeping here, for 11 days already. You just cannot remember any of it. Welcome to your new reality. For the next 24 hours, you are a saturation diver. Take a breath. Go ahead. Notice anything unusual? The air going into your lungs is not normal air. It is a precise mixture called heliox, roughly 98% helium and 2% oxygen. And it is being delivered to you at a pressure of approximately 31 bar, which is 31 times the atmospheric pressure you breathed on the surface. This is not optional. At 300 meters, nitrogen, the primary component of normal air, becomes narcotic and lethal. It would dissolve into your blood and tissues like carbonation into a soda bottle, inducing a condition known as nitrogen narcosis, which would essentially make you euphoric, then paralyzed, then dead. Heliox eliminates that specific threat, but it introduces a new one, your voice. When you try to say good morning to your bunk partner, what comes out of your mouth is a high-pitched, cartoon-like squeak. The helium distorts your vocal cords so completely that saturation dive teams carry voice unscramblers, actual electronic devices, just to communicate intelligibly. It is your first reminder that down here, the laws of normal human life simply do not apply. You move toward what functions as a kitchen. Your vessel, the diving support vessel, or DSV, carries you and 5 other saturation divers in a pressurized living system called the saturation habitat. It consists of interconnected cylindrical chambers, sealed tight against the crushing ocean exterior. The inside is maintained at working depth pressure for the entire duration of the job, which can last anywhere from 14 to 28 days. You eat here, you sleep here, you exercise here, you watch movies here, you argue and laugh and get claustrophobic here. And you never, not once, step outside without donning an umbilical-fed helmet and descending in a diving bell. Your meal card on the small steel counter tells you that today is dive day. Specifically, your dive is scheduled to begin in 4 hours. Your pulse ticks up. You eat. The food, hot, brought down via a small pressurized transfer lock from the surface kitchen, is extraordinary by necessity. Saturation diving companies know that when you cannot give your workers sunlight, freedom, or fresh air, you give them excellent meals. Steak, pasta, fresh bread. The cooks on board have standing orders. The saturation team always eats well. You chew slowly and stare at the rounded wall opposite you. Somewhere beyond that wall is 300 meters of black, freezing ocean, water pressing in at approximately 435 pounds per square inch. The steel between you and that water is doing extraordinary quiet work. How do you feel about that? Honestly, because the veterans in this habitat seem completely unbothered. You review your mission briefing, a laminated sheet tucked into your dive kit. Today's task: welding and inspection repair on a subsea pipeline flange at 290 meters. The pipeline belongs to an oil and gas operator working the North Sea basin. The weld joint developed a hairline crack, detected by a remotely operated vehicle survey earlier this week. The ROV cannot do this job. Nobody can. 4 hours later, you are suiting up in the Bell, a pressurized capsule approximately the size of a small elevator car that will be lowered from the DSV's moon pool down through the ocean to your working depth. Your diving suit is a hot water suit, neoprene fed by a continuous stream of temperature-controlled water pumped down through your umbilical from the surface. Without it, The 4 degrees Celsius water at depth would induce hypothermia within minutes. You check your umbilical, the lifeline that feeds you heliox, hot water, communications, and safety monitoring, and your dive partner checks it again. This redundancy is not a formality. This is survival architecture. Every single system has a backup and a backup for the backup. The Belle begins its descent. Outside the small viewport, the light from the surface disappears fast. Very fast. In the first 10 meters, the blue of the surface world gives way to deep teal. By 50 meters, it is indigo. By 100 meters, it is simply black. The Belle's external lights push narrow yellow cones into the darkness and reveal almost nothing. Just columns of drifting marine particles, what divers call marine snow, suspended sediment, perpetually falling in absolute silence toward the seafloor. You do not speak, your partner does not speak. The Belle hums and descends. At 290 meters, the Belle locks onto the guide frame above the pipeline, and you receive the signal to open the hatch and go to work. You and your partner exit into the open ocean. No cage, no surface tether beyond your umbilical. Just two human beings kneeling in pitch-black water at 290 meters, with 29 atmospheres of pressure compressing every gas cavity in your body, surrounded by 4-degree water in a suit that must not fail. You locate the flange, you find the crack. It is smaller than you expected, a fracture roughly 14 centimeters long, a hairline that would be invisible from any distance, but running along a high-pressure weld seam where it cannot be tolerated for even another week without risk of rupture. You reach into your toolkit and retrieve your wet welding torch. Subsea welding is a discipline in itself. You are using a shielded metal arc welding technique adapted specifically for hyperbaric wet conditions, an electrode coated to create a bubble of gas that temporarily displaces water around the arc, so the weld pool can form. Your hands must be absolutely steady. The margin for error on a pipeline weld at this depth, where any repair crew cannot reach you quickly and where a misfire could potentially rupture the line, is effectively zero. Do you feel the weight of that responsibility? Because it presses harder than the ocean. You work. The arc flickers and spits in the dark. Your breathing slows into a practiced rhythm. In, out, slow, controlled. The heliox mix does something interesting to your perception of time down here. The cognitive effects of working under high-pressure gas mixtures include a condition called high-pressure nervous syndrome, or HPNS, which can cause tremors, nausea, and sleep disruption at depths beyond 150 meters. It is why saturation diver training takes years. It is why your hands right now must override what the gas is doing to your nervous system through nothing but conditioned discipline. You feel a slight tremor in your left forearm. You pause, you wait, it passes, you continue. The weld takes 2 hours and 40 minutes. When you set down the torch and run your gloved hand across the seam, checking by touch in the dark what your lights cannot fully reveal, you feel the ridge of the completed bead, smooth and even. Your partner leans in with a handheld inspection camera. The surface supervisor, watching the feed from 290 meters above you in the operations room aboard the DSV, gives you a thumbs up over comms, distorted by the voice unscrambler into something resembling a human voice agreeing with itself. You return to the Belle. The hatch closes. The Belle ascends. Back in the habitat, you strip off your suit. You eat again. You sleep. Tomorrow there will be another dive, and the day after that, and the day after that, until the job is complete, and you are cleared to begin ascent. But here's the thing about ascent. It will not happen quickly. After 11 days of 300 meters, you cannot simply be hauled to the surface. The dissolved gases saturated into every cell of your body would expand catastrophically, the way carbonation explodes from a shaken soda can the moment the pressure is released. The nitrogen and helium that your tissues have absorbed at 31 bar must be released slowly, across a process of controlled decompression that lasts for a saturation at your depth approximately 9 days. 9 days of slow, incremental pressure reduction. You will rise approximately 9 meters every 12 hours. You will feel pressure headaches, joint aches, intense boredom. The rate is governed by strict dive tables developed over decades of research into decompression illness, DCI, a condition that in its worst form causes gas bubbles to form in the spinal cord and brain, inducing paralysis and death. The divers who came before you, in the pioneering years of commercial saturation diving in the 1960s and 1970s, did not always have those tables. They learned the price of ignorance one hospital bed at a time. 9 days. That is how long it will take to return you to the surface world. Slowly, carefully, molecule by molecule. You lie back on your bunk now. The habitat hums, the ocean presses. You close your eyes and you think about something enormously simple. What a window looks like. Not what is beyond it. Just the window itself. The frame, the glass, the daylight behind it. You have not seen natural light in 11 days, and you will not for another 9. And yet you are not afraid. You are not broken. You are, beneath it all, entirely calm, because this is what extreme professionalism does to a person. It metabolizes fear into procedure. It turns the impossible into a Tuesday. The divers who do this work, the roughly 3,000 certified saturation divers estimated to be working globally at any given time, are among the least celebrated and most essential people in the global energy infrastructure. The pipelines they weld, the umbilicals they repair, the critical subsea infrastructure they maintain. Without them, entire oil and gas fields would go offline, industries would stall, and yet almost nobody on the surface knows they exist. You pull your blanket up to your chin. The metal ceiling is exactly 40 centimeters above your face. You know it's every weld seam by heart now. Tomorrow, you will descend again. You open your eyes, and the ceiling is still completely wrong. But somewhere across the past 24 hours, through the pressure, the darkness, the trembling arc of a weld porch, and the extraordinary silence of 290 meters of black water above your head, you have realized something. Wrong is entirely a matter of where you are standing. Or in this case, where you are kneeling, in the dark, 300 meters below the world that forgot you were there.